who's this new me going to be?
Right.
I was changing into a completely different person.
Did that scare you?
It scared me
Yeah.
because I didn't know who I was going to become. Because for so long, my anxiety and depression became who I was and formed my personality and formed my daily interactions.
Let's get it going. Peter Fahad, welcome again, brother. Another episode. We're kicking it again. We've got a guest with us today, and it's good to see you anyway, Peter, in these cold and wintry days that we have, mate.
Yeah, likewise, mate. You didn't have me on your last podcast session, so I kind of feel out of touch a bit.
Mate, it's your scheduling, mate. You got to get it right next time. Get it right. But today we have a guest, man. He's a good friend of mine. We went to school together. I remember Andrew always being, when I think about Andrew, I think about him always being active and sporty, always on the side there. He's always moving and playing around. And this man is a husband to his beautiful wife, Diane, and he's a father to 2.5-year-old son, Charbel. And one of his more recent roles today is an ambassador to a non-for-profit suicide prevention organisation called Are You OK? I like one of the banners that say, a conversation could change your life. We all, I'm sure, know someone that has sadly lost their life to suicide. So I hope today's conversation can help change your life. And Andrew, welcome, mate. Welcome.
Good to be here, man.
The podcast.
Thank you so much. That was a very professional introduction, man.
Well,
I've got to say. You know more about me than I know about me. So I don't know what's going on there. But like I said before, man, I just reached out to you and you're kind enough to invite me to your house, and let's do it.
And I appreciate you reaching out. It's not, first of all, it's nice to hear your voice and nice to see you.
Thank you.
But I think it's an important conversation and one that, we shouldn't take lightly because it affects a lot of lives. And I guess, we hear that, you're brave enough for, for just reaching out and communicating, what you went through. And we'll discuss that shortly. But it's an important conversation to have. And I'm glad that we can have it because I know that there's going to be many secret people dealing with secret things in their own life that just can't get it out. So I hope we can have that conversation with them. Yeah, but that's all good. But later, remember at school, we used to play touch footy with what? What did we play touch footy with in the playground?
I mean,
it wasn't a ball. What was it?
What didn't we play with? An apron?
Yeah, the apron is what I'm saying.
Else? Yeah, water bottle.
Yeah, I remember.
Those times you just grabbed what you just wanted to be out with the boys playing,
Yeah.
Didn't matter what you used.
Yeah, I remember on the tar we were playing footy with the apron. Who's got the apron from woodwork or metalwork? And we used to play with it. It was great.
I wonder if they're doing that anymore. Though,
I'm not quite sure if they're allowed to, mate. For safety reasons, they probably.
That sounds like you guys were deprived.
Hey, no,
that was honestly like you didn't care what you were using. You just wanted to be out there running and playing and being with your mates. That's all that mattered.
Especially you. I just remember, like I said, I remember you being so sporty, and I think that continued as well.
Let me tell you, I play Oztag around the corner from here. Don't come and watch me because I'm going to shatter everything you ever thought about me. Age just caught up, man. I'm not going to lie.
I'll return that back to you. Don't come and watch me at all.
Okay.
But anyway,
from what I hear, man, you're doing good things. Listen, you're keeping fit. That's the main thing.
I'm giving it a go, bro. I'm not leaving it. I'm not leaving for anyone else. But and just for introduction purposes, like, where did you grow up? How many siblings do you have? Like,
So I grew up in Canterbury, Bankstown. Whether this is a good or bad thing, but I still live like 2 blocks from where I was born.
I love
it. Went to St. Mel's in Campsie, went to St. John's Lakemba, went to Benilde, Bankstown. And I loved it, I did the Canterbury Bankstown line there going to school and, it was really good memories for me, I don't have any regrets from school. It's quite good.
It's a good time.
Yeah, it's a good time, man. Good people, good times, good teachers. We're lucky. I think we're part of a good year.
Sure.
Definitely part of a good year.
But you are a nice guy, like genuine from what I remember as well. So you're easy to get along with.
I like you already.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. He did say, there is another bloke coming just to let you know. And I was like, Bobby, come on, man. He goes, no, he's good. I said, all right, bring him.
It's not bad.
In case you watch Sharp's one,
No, that's right. No, I don't care.
That was the episode I was kicked off on.
Yeah, really?
No, but I mean, this sort of make it.
This sort of discussion, like for me, this sort of discussion, mental health discussion, you could have had 50 people in here. I wouldn't have cared.
Yeah, right.
Just, I'm comfortable with the talk, and so I'm looking forward to tonight.
Good to hear.
I love it.
But yeah, I got 2 sisters and a brother.
Yeah, right.
Pretty much all went to the same school,
Yeah.
St. Mel's, St.
Hey,
John's.
what about, are they older than you? Young?
Yeah, I got an
I really
older
can't
sister.
remember. Yeah, right.
An older sister, how old am I? 42, she'll be 44. Got a younger
Yeah, right.
sister and a younger
I don't
brother.
think she'll be happy at you outing her age out.
She's
like
all
that.
right, man. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
right.
Yeah,
Shit.
she's sweet as.
Should we put a
she's
name
cool.
to that age? Or?
I mean,
I'm just joking, mate.
I mean, beep it out, bro. But no, she's all right. She's actually, you'll hear later on, she's actually the first person I opened up to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. First person I ever told about my
Good.
mental health issues. She was it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about your wife? When did you meet? Hello, Diane. How you going?
Which
Hi.
camera? Can I stare down the barrel somewhere?
Yeah, yeah. Stay down this one.
Which one? Like,
That's
there's
your
too many.
camera
That one
over
there? I love you, honey.
I love it.
How
I
are
love
you?
it. And so, when did you meet her? And where did you meet her?
Wait up. It's got the date.
Oh, there you
Just in case, you know. I
love
wasn't
it.
born yesterday, bro.
I love it. I love
All right,
it.
so we got married
That's how you keep a marriage, mate.
6, 8, 11. So we got married that far ago. Okay, we got married, yeah. So, 11, 12 years. I'm not sure. Something like that. Sounds
Yeah,
about
right.
That's too funny.
But,
Where'd
yeah,
you
I
meet?
met her just going out. It's a bit of a story. Maybe not for this place.
Yeah,
Maybe
right.
another time,
That's all good.
another opportunity for you to invite me back.
Yeah, man.
But no, I mean, long story short, me and Richard Chidiak actually.
Yeah, right.
Shout out Richard. Me and Richard Chidiak went out one night and with a friend of mine, and my friend brought my
Yeah.
now wife with her,
Yeah, yeah.
and we kicked it off, and the rest is history. So I did the whole, social media thing after. I had a number and everything, but we did
Yeah.
the social media thing, caught up that way, and then
Yeah,
we
right.
met up for a bit afterwards, and
good.
kicked
Was
it
it-
off from there. Even when I was living in Canberra,
Yeah, right.
we're going out. She'll come down and visit. So
Nice.
it was a good start. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
good.
yeah, I got you. And so, talking about your working history before we get on to the, because it's quite interesting. Because I remember you being in the police force,
Yeah.
and then you told me at one stage you're like, oh, I don't want to work in the police
Yep.
force, and you went across to the feds. Tell me
Mm.
about your role. Or what did you do straight out of school?
Well, straight out of school, to be honest, I went straight to TAFE and I
For
became
what?
a personal trainer, fitness instructor.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I went straight into fitness, which seemed like a good look. In hindsight, now I probably would have liked to go into being a sport teacher, PE, PE teacher.
Right.
I think that's probably gone now. It's probably beyond me now. But I went straight into health and fitness. Then after I graduated from TAFE, I worked only a short time as a fitness instructor, and then went into the New South Wales Police. Yeah, so graduated in Goulburn, went down there, graduated in Goulburn, and I was in the New South Wales Police for about a year, just for about 12 months.
You didn't enjoy it. I remember you saying to me you didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, look, I don't want to say I didn't enjoy it. I just want to be careful what words I choose because I'm so grateful, and policing is a tough job.
Gotcha.
And the people out there do good work, and I don't have any regrets from any of my policing. But yeah, it was tough. I was in Auburn, and I was only a young guy at the time, and early 20s, whatever I was. And yeah, after 12 months, I just was like,
It wasn't for you.
yeah, I don't know if this is me, I don't know if this is me. I don't know how I could have replicated that 12 months again and again and again and again.
Gotcha.
And that just sort of scared
And how
me.
did you jump into the feds, and why did you jump into the feds?
Well, I went back to fitness first.
Yeah,
And I
right.
did a lot of time in fitness then, a lot of years, few years, 10 years, I don't know how many years. Corporate, I did a lot of corporate work. I was working at, Hewlett Packard, Johnson & Johnson. I was working at News Limited. They got their own gym setups. So I'm doing a lot of corporate stuff. I did a lot of...
as a personal trainer.
Yeah, as a personal trainer, managing their gyms. I did a lot of sports events, sport event management. I don't know if you know about Hyde Park in the city. There's a big lunchtime sport competition that runs at Hyde Park, and they come from the city, from everywhere. You just see them streaming down. I used to supervise and run that. But yeah, just a lot of fitness stuff, a lot of personal training, a lot of work for myself, a lot of work in gyms. And then basically 2008, I was actually, to be honest, I was actually doing tiling at the time. I remember I was working with my uncle. You know how it is, everyone does a bit of this, a bit of that.
For sure,
Make
just to
ends
get
meet.
through, yeah, for sure.
So I was actually tiling at the time. I made a decision to go and join the AFP. I sort of weighed up the New South Wales Police and the AFP and decided which was best for me at the time. And to be honest, the AFP as well, they pay you as a student, which was also good for us, It didn't mean I had to go to Canberra and live in Canberra. But at the time I was single and I didn't care. And I was just like, let's just go do this.
How long did your time at the AFP last for?
11 years.
Gotcha.
Oh, wow, you were there for a while.
That's a
Almost
massive.
11 years.
massive
I have to
stint.
get it right because I don't want other people watching this going, man, it wasn't 11 years, come on. But
Allegedly.
let's just say I got my long service, so it was
Yeah,
at least
right.
10 years.
Yeah, gotcha. That's
but
great.
10 coming up to 11,
Yeah.
I think.
And then
Did
you
you enjoy that, though?
I loved it, yeah. Look, to be honest, I just sort of got to that stage where I was like, okay, well, I think I've served enough,
Yeah,
I've done
right.
enough, and what else is out there,
Yeah,
and that's
right.
all it was.
Why not?
I don't have regrets. The person I am today is a lot to do with those 10 years in policing.
Oh, good one.
The confidence it gives you, and you get to see a lot about life. I always say to people, you can go out the front of your house now and walk down your street, and all you'll see is closed doors and just sort of people's front windows and front doors. But as a police officer, you see behind those doors.
Sure. For
So you
sure.
get a different look at the community, and
Yeah.
you really get a good feel for the pulse of the community and what it really is like.
Gotcha.
Sometimes bad, sometimes good. But, I've seen some stuff that, I drive past now and so I still look at that house and I go, oh yeah, I remember that house, But look, I don't regret it. I just left because it was just time.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this main conversation that we're here to discuss, and one of your recent roles that you've taken up as an Are You OK ambassador. Look, I've jumped onto the Australian government website, okay, and just for a matter of research before we have this conversation, and check this out for a little bit of statistics, from their websites. This is Australian Institute of Health and Welfare. In a 12-month period, it is estimated that about 65,000 Australians make suicide attempts. 65,000 attempts, not so much die, but make attempts at suicide. And it says here in 2020, there were 3,139 deaths by suicide for males, an
Wow.
average about 9 per day. Males are 3 to 4 times more likely to take their own lives than females. Check this out. There were 2,000. So these were in total. 3,139. So there were 2,384 males and 755 female deaths.
Wow.
Is what we're talking about. Suicide rates are highest amongst middle-aged older men. Since 2008, the highest suicide rates have generally been around males aged 40 to 49. Welcome,
Oops.
boys. We're here, boys. And over 85. So that's
Wow.
that little bit of statistics. But, here's my question to you, Andrew, and I'll leave the floor to you. Why do you care so much to get into, care so much about this cause, and why did you care enough to get into being a Are You OK ambassador?
Thanks.
Tell me about your journey.
And look, they're scary stats, but I'm curious to know what year those stats relate to.
2020.
Yeah, okay, because what's happened in the last 2 years?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
The world's changed even more.
yeah,
You think
gotcha.
it's increased even
I think
more?
it might have been
100%, especially with the lockdowns and
just
people not
going off
seeing
what
each
I
other.
hear and what
Yeah.
you see and what the social media tells you and what the news tells you. I know it's not always good to go to that for advice, but COVID, businesses shutting down. I hate to think it is, but it could very well be.
Either
higher,
way, just that as a
it's
minimum
bad enough.
is bad enough.
Yeah, no doubt.
So tell me about
No doubt.
your role as ambassador, and why do you care so much? Why did you get into it in the first place?
Look.
Tell me about
So
your
I've
own
done
journey.
a lot of work. Look, I would say I've done a lot of work for the average Joe, so to speak. Yeah, I'm not flying the world doing talks, but I started a Facebook page called Hill Groups a while ago, and actually Hill HEAL actually was standing for Helping Ease Anxious Lives. And I did a few community focus groups. I did my own talk, advertised myself, went to a local cafe, a great cafe. I got to give it a plug, Belfield Cafe. It's Brick Lane in Belfield. And the lady there let me use the back of her cafe there, and I did a talk. And I just always, having struggled myself for years, for quite a long time,
Tell me about that journey, Andrew.
yeah, look, man, I'm talking like, thank God I never attempted anything, yeah? I never attempted suicide. Did I think about it? Yeah, for sure. It ran through my head quite a bit. But I always thank God, I always had a strength that I knew it was wrong. And I not wrong, but I knew that's not what I wanted. Yeah, you got to be careful the words you choose, because
Sure.
some people always think,
Yeah.
like, your opinions, even though someone suffers like you suffer, it can be two different opinions.
Yeah, but Andrew,
on a topic.
what you're discussing is your experience and your
My
journey.
experience, yeah, 100%.
You-
So
you're not talking for everyone. It's your
no,
experience
that's
and your
right.
journey.
That's right. Yeah, 100%. So For me, basically what it was is I struggled for years, a very long time. And I'm talking anxiety attacks every single day, struggling with depression every single day. Like my wife, God love her, even at times having to walk me up and down the road at 2 a.m. because I just wasn't settling, my heart rate through the roof and just the anxiety was just there, And basically I took it upon myself one day to just, I don't even know how it happened, but whether it be through fitness and policing, I knew about anxiety and depression.
Right.
I think having learnt about fitness and doing all those courses and having become a police officer, you're sort of around that a bit, So it wasn't something that was new to me. So I was basically just took myself on this journey of realization and study, and I entrenched myself into it after several years.
Into what?
Into learning about anxiety and depression.
Okay, can I just stop you
Yeah.
there for a second? When did it start? How old were you when you first had those feelings? Were you 12? Were you 15? Were you 25?
Upon reflection,
Yeah.
I was probably early 20s.
I got you.
Now that I've reflected.
So this was
But-
not at school. You didn't have those feelings at
No,
school?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay.
No,
Not
no,
straight
I was
out of
quite
school?
Good. I quite enjoyed school. Everything was quite good. But I would say even though it was early 20s, it sort of didn't really hit me hard really until I was in the AFP.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for some reason. When I was living in Canberra at the time, I remember lying in bed in Canberra. My heart rate was it felt like 200 beats. And I'll be in bed and my brain would just be going, my heart rate would be going. And I remember lying there just thinking, I'm going to die. I'm in this bed and I'm 3 hours from home and no one will even know.
Gotcha.
And, it was those sort of struggles in my head that I was having. And I've got to tell you a story real quick.
Yeah.
I know we don't want to sort of stretch this out too
No,
long, but I've got to
just
tell
go.
you a story. So you talk about why I do this stuff now. A lot has happened to me in my struggle with it that I can't explain. And I only put down really one thing, and that's God.
Gotcha.
And I'm at that stage now where it's like, well, why me in terms of why did I get through it and the next person, those statistics you just mentioned, why aren't I a statistic? Yeah. Because I could have easily went down that path. But there was a series of events that occurred that I can only, like I said, put down to God that made me realize something bigger than me was happening. Yeah.
Praise God, man.
Yeah. So there was something literally holding my hand through the whole process. And even to the point one day, I'll tell this quick story. When I was living in Canberra at the time, when I graduated, the deal basically was you go to the college, you graduate, but you had to do 5 to 7 years in Canberra, right? That was the deal of your graduation.
AFP.
Yeah, AFP.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because AFP is policed by, Canberra is policed by the AFP.
Gotcha.
Yeah? So you're working on the street.
Gotcha.
Anyway, a couple of years in, and I'm an absolute mess, yeah? And I'm there, and I'm just, my anxiety's through the roof. So I remember speaking to a friend of mine at the police station, and I said to him, listen, man, because my plan of attack was to go learn Arabic. Even though I'm Arabic, I'm Lebanese, my Arabic's really bad. And I thought if I went and learned how to speak Arabic and write it, then I can use that as a tool to get out. You know what I mean?
I don't know what you mean.
Well, because to me it was like, what's the point of having a Lebanese interpreter sitting in Canberra?
Gotcha.
I can get out and go to Sydney and do something.
Gotcha, gotcha.
I was trying to upskill myself.
Got it.
And make myself more valuable.
So you can get out.
So I can get out.
Right. Were you married then, Ange?
No, I was with my partner towards the end.
Gotcha.
But I was basically single the most of the time.
Gotcha.
And what happened was a friend of mine basically said, listen, if you want to do study and you want AFP to pay, you have to ask the boss. Yeah. And they'll pay you. If they agree, they'll pay. So we got this a lady come down. I won't mention her name, but there was a female boss. She come down and she just come to our station, right? Each station has like a station sergeant.
Yeah.
And she just come down. She actually come from interstate and she just arrived. Like she'd been there such a short time that she hadn't even said hi to anyone, So I went, well, I'm going to go talk to her. And I went and I knocked on the door and I said, hi, sorry to interrupt, And I said, look, I've got to have a chat to you about something, please. She goes, oh, no worries. Sorry, I haven't introduced myself. Take a seat. And I said, look, I'd like to learn Arabic. I'm Lebanese, but I'd like to learn how to read it and write it. I think it would be good to upskill myself and it would be good for the AFP. And I'm not kidding you. The next words out of her mouth, she stared at me, and the next words out of her mouth were, what are you really here for?
I
Oh, wow.
love her, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And I almost cried instantly
Yeah, right.
because I wanted to get out, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
And she goes, how's your health?
Wow.
I'm not kidding. I don't know this lady, yeah?
Right.
How did you pick it?
I don't know.
Yeah, gotcha.
And I said, oh, my health's good. She goes, don't bullshit to me.
Oh,
How's your-"
wow.
Yeah. She goes, how's your health? I said, well, I'm trying downplaying it, yeah? Oh, it could be better. Everyone's got their issue. Everyone's got their cross to bear. And then she told me these personal stories. And she looked at me and she said, the last thing you need to do is study. We need to get you home to your family.
Oh, wow.
I'm not kidding you.
What great insight.
I'm not kidding you. That's exactly what happened. And I said, look, I don't want to go because I know there's people that want to go before me. There are people who've been here a lot longer than me. There are people with wives and kids who deserve to get out before I get out. And she just looked at me and she said, you don't think those people would jump over you if they had this opportunity? Just be grateful and take it because you might not get it again. And then I just basically, and she said to me, I'm going to email a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of processes that have to occur for you to get out. I'm going to CC you in the emails. So you might have to go do some stuff, but just, we'll leave it with me. I said, no worries. And I think maybe less than a month, it felt like a month or so, I was gone. I was out. I was back home in Sydney. And I remember ringing my wife now, we were only dating at the time, and I said, I'm coming home. She goes, oh, for how long? A couple of days? Because usually just like the weekend or something.
Sure.
I said, no, I just got transferred. And I was in shock. And then before I forget, the story gets even better. I get back to Sydney and I'm working. So I'm going to shoot her an email because I just want to say thank you, and just let her know that, thank you for everything you've done for me. And I let her know where I was and just, fill her in.
So you continued working for the AFP, but they just transferred you?
Transferred from Canberra to Sydney.
Sure.
I ended up in counter-terrorism.
Sure.
But
But you're back home?
I was back home.
Yeah, right.
And the thing is, I don't know, maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks, I don't know, but we're talking weeks, not months.
Yeah, right.
I emailed her. She emailed me back saying, no worries, all the best. Just to let you know, I'm not in Canberra anymore. I've gone back home.
Where's home?
Well, back to her state.
She was having the same feelings?
No. Well, she come in, I got out, and she left.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, the way I was looking at it, like, it was like she was sent
divine.
there. She was sent there for, like,
Just
at
to
least...
help you and get out.
Look,
So
why
that's
she
the
was
way you
sent there,
saw
I
it.
don't know.
Yeah, right.
But she was there for a very short time, and in that time, she got me out, and then she left.
Gotcha.
And I still think about that today, like she was basically like my angel that looked over me then,
Yeah, gotcha.
Andrew,
let me just go back for a second there. When did you start getting those feelings, and what were those feelings that of anxiety and depression that you started thinking about suicidal thoughts?
Look, yeah.
What brought it on?
I
What
don't know.
were they?
Nothing.
Gotcha.
Nothing. I saw a psychologist down the track, probably a few years ago now. I stopped, but I saw a psychologist for about 3 years,
Gotcha.
and nothing told me what it was. And that's the biggest thing you got to understand. People got to understand this. You can get anxiety, yeah, from good and bad, yeah?
Sure.
It doesn't have to be bad experience,
Sure.
okay? So a lot of people go looking for this negativity when they talk about anxiety, because my opinion on anxiety and where it comes from differs a lot to a lot of people based on my personal experience.
What's your personal experience opinion?
Okay, my personal, if you were to say to me, where does anxiety come from? What's the cause of it?
For you?
Yeah, for me, I would tell you it's mind fatigue. Yeah.
Sure.
So basically, my brain and my mind lost the ability to rationalize and process properly.
But could it also, and I'm just jumping in because I'm oblivious to it and I'm here to learn, could it be also based on a fear element?
Well, you get an irrational fear having it,
Yeah.
But the reason why I say that is everything you do when it comes to anxiety and depression, everything you do, everything you're taught about, everything, I suppose the exercises they teach you to help you get rid of it.
Like breathing.
Yeah, but what's all that about? It's all about the mind, yeah?
Right,
And it's all
right,
about
right.
calming the mind.
Calming the mind.
And they talk about living in the now. And, you hear all those phrases about basically being present. That's all about being able to process your mind and be able to live in a very present state.
Sure.
Yeah, you're not ruminating all these thoughts
Yeah.
in your head.
It's the best
and
place
thinking
to
about,
be.
Yeah, that's right. So to me, what it was, my anxiety, I believe, came from a overwhelmed mind that could not keep up with the processing that was required. Yeah.
Sure.
Now that sounds a bit different to what everyone else says.
Yeah.
But the reason why I say that is I saw a psychologist for 3 years and all he did was let me talk for 3 years. All I know about this guy is his name and where he lives. In 3 years, I know nothing else about him. Okay? Now, to me, that was amazing because
Why?
what it allowed me to do was to revisit my past in
Right.
those 3 years and just talk and just get it out. Yeah? Whatever it was about, doesn't matter, good or bad. And what I was doing was those ruminating thoughts and all that stuff in my head, I was ticking off and getting rid of them to the point where my mind was only occupied by the present day or the last couple of days. I was no longer thinking things past a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which freed my mind to be more rational and understand the present moment,
Yeah.
and which basically eliminated my anxiety.
Yeah, right.
And in eliminating my anxiety, eliminated my depression.
Yeah, right.
You know? Now, yes, there's PTSD and there's all these different causes for anxiety. Okay, I get it.
Is that a true thing?
But-
Do you play? Does that play on your mind? This sort of PTSD? Like
Yeah,
things that
100%.
you've
I had
seen?
it.
Things that you've seen?
I had to go get hypnosis to get rid of it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I had it.
You're just reliving what you've saw.
Just reliving this one event from when I was in the police. I don't want to get too much into
No,
it because
no,
it can
don't.
affect others,
Of
but
course.
I couldn't even look at babies or kids the same,
Sure.
you know? So PTSD is a real thing, but it doesn't matter what you look at. PTSD, bad relationship, bad work environment, whatever it is that you are in that's causing your anxiety and depression, the way out is processing and talking, yeah?
Right. Yeah.
Hiding from the event is not going to help you heal, yeah?
Gotcha.
So it doesn't matter how you look at it, it all comes back to how well can you process the events of your life and tick them off and pigeonhole them if you want, or make a decision on them and say, well, yes, I'm going to revisit this
And deal with
and deal with it, or I'm going to let it go. And for 3 years with that psychologist, that's what I did. And I went through everything in my life, and even if it was good or bad, it didn't matter. And I just ticked them off. And to the point where my mind felt basically, like
Free flowing.
free-flowing, brand
right.
new, refreshed.
Right. Yeah.
Like the baggage was gone.
Yeah.
Andrew, I don't know if this is a controversial question. Medication. I often hear that medication helps ease the anxiety of a person. Is that a band-aid solution, or is there a deeper issue that you need to deal with? I want to try and process it in my mind because I've got a follow-up question I want to
Yeah.
ask you after this. So
Well, I've got a story for you on that.
I don't want to. How can I say? I just want to
It's
get
not
the right
controversial,
advice.
man. It exists,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I'm happy to hear that
Yeah.
because I also want to know after you answer that question. What are the key indicators that we should be aware of when we look at a person to see whether or not they are suffering from anxiety
Yeah.
or depression? Because, mate, I've been really, how can I say, oblivious in this department. And I just want to be able to be more astute
And aware.
in determining and aware in seeing if a person's going through it, because I've had people in my circle that have gone through it and I didn't pick up on it. But now I just see some small key indicators like, they become withdrawn. They want to stay in bed longer, little things like that. But I don't want to digress too much.
No, that's fine.
I'll just let you go with it and just kind of lead us down that path.
Yeah, so on the medication side, I believe there is a need for it. Yeah, do
I
believe-
agree.
yeah,
In,
I
in,
do
all,
believe-
in all cases.
No, definitely
Gotcha.
not. I suffered for years and years and years,
Yeah.
and I consider myself cured, and I consider myself healed, and I never took it.
Because you're a machine, Andrew, bro. That's why.
No. I'll tell you. So just on the medication stuff, yes, there's a need, yeah, because some people don't have the networks. Some people don't have the family, the friends. Some people just can't fight that fight because it's just sometimes too hard and they're so mentally drained.
Got it, man.
And I feel for them. And sometimes, they have to turn to taking medication to help them.
Which is fine, right?
Which is fine, 100%
But
it
are
is.
they- are they
Each
putting that-
individual has to do them how they need to do, you know what I mean?
But are they boxing up some feelings there? 'Cause
Not necess-
I'm just learning from you that
Look,
it's good to go
I know what
through
you're
it.
saying.
Yeah.
Taking the medication is not really solving the problem. It's just helping
Well,
you through it.
I
It's
don't-
masking
yeah,
it.
it's
Masking it.
masking it.
Yeah, right.
Potentially. But
Yeah.
some people, you know, you can speak to them and they say, yeah, I'm on medication, best thing I ever did. Yes. But there is a story I'll tell you, which isn't a good story. But I went and saw a psychiatrist after I left Canberra. Yeah. Not a psychologist, a psychiatrist. And I came to Sydney, and me coming back to Sydney was all about healing as well. Yeah. So I had to owe them, I had to pay it back. It wasn't just, thank you, see you suckers, and I'm out. I had to then take ownership and get myself better. So I saw a psychiatrist, and I went to this bloke, and I gotta be honest, I'd headbutt him if I saw him.
Sure.
Yeah. He left a really, really bad opinion of psychiatrists in my mind. I know that's not good, but that's what happened. I sat in his I waited an hour, yeah. My booking was at, say, 10 o'clock, it was 11 o'clock, whatever. I waited an hour, I thought, no big deal. And he goes, opens the door, he goes, come in, I can see you now. I walk in, I sit down. He goes, okay, tell me your story. So I start telling him everything about my life, you know, my anxiety, my depression, everything. And he's walking around, he's answering the phone. The receptionist walks in, he's looking at some paperwork. So I stop. And he goes, oh, keep talking, keep talking. And I said, okay, so I keep talking. At the end of it, he sits down, opens up his drawer, gets out a pad. He goes, take this.
Wow.
And that was his solution.
And I said, I'm not here for medication. I'm not here to take anything.
Yeah.
He goes, it's for your depression. I said, I don't have depression. I've got anxiety. He goes, it's the same thing. He goes, if you're not going to take this, I can't help you.
Okay. Thank you.
I said, well, you can't help me.
Thank you.
And I got up and walked out.
Good on you, bro.
So my point is,
That infuriates me, yeah?
how many people did he try and help? How many people said yes unnecessarily?
Yeah, man.
You know? And my uncle, you know, like he passed away.
Yep.
And he was struggling really bad with mental health. And
Andrew, we all know somebody, buddy. Everyone knows somebody.
Let me tell you, I've never seen mental health affect someone physically like it affected him. The medication he was on and the help he was getting was just one stuff up after the other after the other. Right. And from one medication to using another medication to mask it, to using another medication to mask that. He was on all this medication that he probably should never have been on if his help was right the first time. And then it ended up organ failure and everything else. You know?
From the medication?
From everything, yeah. He just spiraled. I really feel bad and I'm really angry about it. You know, I remember saying a prayer at his funeral, and after the prayer, my mate come up to me, my cousin come up to me, sorry, and he goes, why are you so angry? Because I read the prayer like with anger, because I shouldn't have been up there reading it, you know?
Yeah, right.
So yes, there's pros and cons, but my opinion would be, if you're going to take medication, take ownership of what that medication is and the doses that you're taking. Don't just always take the doctor's advice. Yeah. And I know that sounds weird, but this is something that you're going to put in your stomach, in your body, could go either way. And I think it's really important that you don't just go, okay, well, doctor said take this, and start popping them 10 years later, never revisit it. You know what I mean? So it's something that needs to be revisited and looked at, and maybe change the dose, maybe don't, maybe change the medication if you have to. Maybe you're in a position where you can come off it.
Sure.
And you don't need it anymore. But a lot of people just sit on it and just start taking it, and 5 years later, and then they're on it. You know, so I would say just take a bit more ownership when you're on it. And, you know, even if you don't like the doctor's response, or if the doctor hasn't revisited you in a while, call them and say, hey, can we have a chat?
That's good advice. Good advice.
Is it good, from what I'm hearing, because I usually take my advice from a doctor, jump on the internet and see what the side effects are.
That's never good.
That's never good?
That's never good. Well, because the internet always tells you the worst, yeah? It always tells you, look, you can get an indication.
Have you done that before?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, mate, are you serious?
Yeah.
Based on the internet, I've been dead 100 times. Yeah.
Wow.
Look, my dad had multiple heart attacks in his 40s when he was young.
Yeah.
Yeah. But lifestyle, driving cabs, smoking cigarettes. Yeah. But when I was in my 20s and like coming into my 30s, and I was suffering from severe chest pain because of my anxiety, I had myself convinced I was about to drop dead any single day, because everyone talks to you about hereditary and, you know, all that sort of stuff.
Is
heart
it
disease?
No, not heart disease.
Yeah, some people say this. Yeah, some people say it's hereditary.
Okay.
Look, I think what they mean by hereditary, and what my opinion would be, is if you have an anxious house, you can have an anxious child.
Okay.
You know,
I get
not
you.
necessarily they're born anxious because you're anxious.
Gotcha. The environment that they were in. Yeah,
The environment,
energy
anxious,
levels.
so
Yeah, sure.
it feeds onto the
That's
child.
interesting.
That would be my opinion of it. Yeah, because no one else, you can go to some families, like my mum and dad never had it. When I first spoke to my mum and dad, like they did the usual, like blame themselves and,
Got it.
they went down that path. And
Of
I was
course.
like, listen, it's got nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
This is all about me,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you, this is what I've got and this is what it is. So,
But what should we look for? What are the indicators? I
Look-
want to be more in tune.
One second, Andrew, before you go, let me just read off the "Are you okay?" So this is what
they'll have the indicators on there.
Pardon?
They
Yeah,
have
they
the
are.
indica- yeah.
So they're experiencing mood swings. They are experiencing mood swings, becoming withdrawn, changing their online behavior, losing interest in what they used to love, unable to concentrate, behavioral recklessness, less interested in their appearance and personal hygiene, and changing their sleep patterns are some of the indicators.
Some. But let me tell you,
course.
I went through it for quite a long time, and
I'll send this to you, Pete.
Yeah,
Show it to you.
yeah. If you
I
don't
think you'd be, to be honest, you'd be flat out realizing that I had anxiety and depression. I would think, yeah.
I'll be what? Sorry.
It'd be hard to have realized that I had it.
Yeah, not you. I think this
Like,
active
Looking back
individual.
at now at myself, how I was,
Yeah.
because I was so active, I always had an out. I always had an outlet. I always had a
Yeah, man.
I
Is that
always had my
important? Do you
thing.
think?
Yeah.
Is that important? Do you think to have an
100%.
outlet?
Yeah, 100%.
Just stay on that treadmill. Just keep
Yeah,
moving.
yeah,
you know.
because you need to get your mind
Yeah.
off it.
Yeah, right.
When I was playing, I used to play Oztag, football, you name it, I played it. And for
8 days a week.
mate, I was playing Oztag in Reesby,
Yeah.
finishing my game, jumping in the car, driving to Homebush, playing Oztag in Homebush on the same
I
night.
love it. That's how I remember you.
Wow.
That's how I
Because
remember Andrew.
it just got it out of my head. And
Gotcha.
for that time when I was playing, I wasn't thinking.
Nothing
All right,
mattered.
Andrew,
Yeah.
can I ask you another question? Okay, just say now I've determined that you're struggling a bit with anxiety, depression. How would I better help you
Yeah, look, to be honest,
as a mate?
as a person that suffers from
Yeah.
it, well, suffered, and this is a point I want to raise before we stop talking later on, this whole thing about cure.
Yeah.
I'll come back to that, but if I can just raise this
Yeah,
quickly.
sure,
Yeah,
go
go.
for it.
One of the most important things when dealing with anxiety is, for me, I had to learn how to change my language. I had to learn how to change my belief. And belief that I could get better. I had to put myself in such a positive state of mind that sort of platformed me and allowed me to have that drive to go and get the help that I needed.
I get
If you sit back and you listen to people say there's no cure for it, it happens all the time.
You're gonna believe it.
Okay? Yeah, there's no cure for anxiety and depression. I hate that. I
Right.
hate it so much. It upsets me when I hear that. Because what you're saying to someone is, hey, bro, deal with it, because for the rest of your life, you got it. And let me tell you, as a person who had it bad, if I knew for the rest of my life that's what was going to happen, I guarantee you I'm a statistic that
Yeah, gotcha.
without any doubt.
Okay.
It's hard for people, and that's what I was saying to you before, Bobby. I think I mentioned to you, when you say to people, are you okay? Yeah, it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's not enough.
It's not enough. And I posted it a few times, I know.
What do you mean by that?
But if you say to someone, it's okay not to be okay, there has to be follow-up. There has to be a plan B, C, and D that follows that comment. Otherwise, it's a throwaway line. Because you can say to me, oh, man, it's okay not to be okay. I'm like, thanks, Bobby, man. I appreciate you listening. Then I go home, and it solves nothing. Okay? And that's the honest truth from a sufferer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, from a sufferer's hat on. That's what happens. Then I go home, and my anxiety's through the roof. And that comment alone is not enough to heal you and to, I suppose, break that cycle.
Gotcha.
It needs to be, it's okay not to be okay. However, let's talk about how we can make you better.
Yeah.
What can we now do? There needs to be that follow-up. Because to be honest, if you ask me, my personal opinion is not even okay to not be okay.
Yeah, right.
I don't want to not be okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to live my life having people tell me, oh, it's okay not to be okay.
Okay, got it.
Because it's so hard to live with it
Yeah.
that the thought of me just accepting it that way and moving on and, okay, well, it's okay. People are saying it's okay, so it's all right. And then going home and having to live with it,
Yeah.
it's still very hard. It's still very daunting. There has to be follow-up.
Andrew, let me just, because off the website, are you okay? Let me just go through the steps of that question they ask. It says, ask, are you okay? And it says, listen to that person. Then encourage action. And then come back and check in. Don't just let
Sure.
it go, you know?
Well,
So
that's the
there's-
point. Encourage action.
Yeah.
So it's okay not to be okay,
Yeah.
but then you've got to encourage action.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about the action part.
Well, it depends on circumstances. What do you mean tell you about the action part?
Well, that would be seeing a psychologist. That would
Yeah.
be
Okay.
going online,
Yeah. Get
reading
out.
up, going to the doctor. So for those that don't know, you go to the doctor, you can do a mental health plan, and you get 10 discounted. I don't think it's free, but it's they call it like.
Like a self-diagnosis.
Yeah, they'll diagnose you. You fill out the form, they'll diagnose you, but you get 10
okay.
psychology visits.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's a good thing to push people towards
Yeah.
too, because a lot of people don't know about it. You get it.
It's on the Are You Okay website anyway.
Is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, good. So you
Yeah.
get 10 visits, and the way it is, it's
Oh, not so much that those steps. Sorry.
yeah, good.
Those steps. Yeah.
No, and those steps are right.
Yeah, yeah.
But those 10 visits are like through the year. So if you got 10 if you started now and had your 10 towards the end of the year, in January you get another 10. So potentially, if you jumped on right now and saw a doctor and got a mental health plan, and then went and saw a psychologist, because I know it's expensive, right? But these 10
Is
visits,
it subsidised?
yeah, subsidised. That's the word I'm
Okay.
looking for. So you could have 10 between now and December, and then in January they'll give you another 10. So you could have a block of 20 straight off the bat, and that's really good.
Very helpful.
Yeah, that's really good.
Can I just say as well, just for myself, I know it's good to reach out, but I know there are some people in myself, I would struggle reaching out. From where I am now, I would struggle reaching out. I don't even discuss different things, say with my wife or anything, or anybody else, because I'm dealing with something. I have felt like, and I've voiced it to Peter, that if I tell you about something, I feel like that now I've got to help you deal with what I'm dealing with, and just let me just deal with it myself. That's how I find myself right now. So I struggle reaching out. Do you what would you say to someone that's struggling reaching out, or what would you say to someone that's struggling reaching
Yeah.
out?
Look, for
That
me,
thinking that it's I'm a weaker man for reaching out,
yeah, look,
because that's a real thing.
it's a real thing that people think. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's not real.
It's a real thought.
It's not real as in that's
Life.
what you are.
It's a real thought.
But it's a real thought.
Sure.
100% it's a real thought. And for me, it wasn't so much about being weaker. For me, it was just so confused. I didn't even know what it was. I couldn't
Right,
even
yeah.
fathom this thing
Right,
in my
yeah.
head.
Yeah.
I didn't even know how to talk about it.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what it was. The penny drop for me basically was when I got married.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Because when I was single and
Yeah.
struggling,
Yeah.
I was only harming myself.
Right.
Then I got married
Yeah.
and it was a different ball game.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be honest, when you're single, for me, this is what happened. I know it sounds weird and it sort of goes against what I'm saying, but when I had my severe anxiety and depression as a single person, I actually felt bulletproof. I felt my strongest when I was weakest. And what I mean by that is because I did not care what happened to me, I felt invincible. You know what I mean?
Get it,
Because
man.
what's the worst that can happen? I'm going to die.
Yeah. Right.
So what?
Yeah. Right.
Like that's how my head was.
Yeah.
So I was walking around like I was Superman because I didn't care about the consequence, because nothing can be worse than dying. And if I died, I died.
Yeah. Right.
That's the stupidity of my brain and what it was telling me.
Yeah.
But then I got married, and I remember saying to my wife when I proposed, I said to her, look, before we do this, this is what you're marrying. Okay, I'm just letting you know straight up. I'm not hiding anything, because I had a lot of failed relationships.
Right.
A lot of failed relationships because of it.
Yep.
Because I just wasn't present in those relationships. And I said, well, I got to tell her. And I told her, and I said, this is what you're getting. Bang, bang, bang. And I told her everything about my anxiety and depression. And she looked at me and she said, I don't give a shit. Whatever it is, we'll deal with it.
I love it.
Yeah. And it was that commitment to me that made me realize, you know what? I don't just owe it to myself. I now have brought someone into my life, and I owe it to them. You know, and she was walking me, like I said, she would be the person with me in the hospital every second night. You know, every second night going to the hospital because I just thought I was about to collapse and have a heart attack. And she was always there, work or no work, she was sitting by my side. So eventually it got to the point where I was like, okay, well, I just got to get serious. Yeah, nothing changes if nothing changes, you know. And I just needed to get serious for her and for me. And, you know, she supported me and she helped me find some psychologists. And I went and saw some people and they were hit and miss. And I must say, if you get a psychologist you don't like, it's not the end of the world. Please just go see someone else.
Yeah. Right.
Simple
Nice
as
one.
that. And I did. And I found this guy who I saw for 3 years solid. And we spoke about everything and anything.
And that's what helped you pull out of it? The fact
100%.
that you communicated.
Yeah. Look, we spoke about everything. I remember once spending a whole session talking about how much, and I was paying $185 a pop for this guy, right? And I spent the whole
I need to
hour-
become a psychologist.
Mate, I'm telling you, I spent a whole hour.
Well, you did go to uni.
Look, that's not the prices everywhere,
Uh-uh.
right? And it's important that we make sure psychology is accessible because it's very important to healing. But I remember spending a whole hour talking about how I hate coat hangers. And he looked at me and he laughed a bit, you know?
Just
And
like this.
And I said, hey?
Just like this.
Well, he said, because the thing was, I said to him, I need to talk to you about coat hangers. And he laughed. And I'm like, I get it. It sounds shit. I know that.
Yeah.
And I said, but I was getting so upset when the coat hanger got stuck in the shirts or in the cupboard.
Yeah, right.
And for me, it had nothing to do with the coat hanger, right? It just showed you how on tilt I was.
Yeah, right.
It showed you how much I had exhausted myself that as soon as that coat hanger got stuck,
That got to you.
I destroyed the whole cupboard and ripped them all out.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
My wife will come home, she goes, took it out on the coat hangers today, just everywhere, right?
I love her.
But like I said, it had nothing to do with coat hanger, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a metaphor. It was just something to show that I was so gone
Gotcha.
that
Wow.
that little snag,
Yeah, that was it.
I was
Switch
gone.
off. You know,
so we needed to discuss that, you know.
yeah. You spoke about there. If you haven't got a good psychologist, go see another one. So what makes it, what from your experience, what makes a good one compared to one that's not so
You
good?
just know, bro. It's the
Gotcha.
connection. It's not necessarily whether they're any better than the next person.
Because that's going to help.
It's your
That's going to one sec. That's
Yeah.
going to help people that are asking how you going, Peter. Like
100%.
yeah. So what makes a good one? What makes a bad
For
one?
me, my personal opinion is they're not all the same first, yeah?
Sure.
But there are a lot of good psychologists out there. But you do need a slight personal connection with one
Gotcha.
because you need to be comfortable to open up.
Okay.
And if there's something that's not right between you and them, and it might not have anything to do with their knowledge and their skill and their ability, you know, whether they're a good or bad psychologist, it just might be you going, I'm not comfortable talking to this person for whatever reason. And if that happens, please just go see someone else
Yeah.
Hey,
Gotcha.
because
Andrew.
you'll find someone.
Andrew, I'll talk about openness for a second, right? Is it more prevalent that we struggle with anxiety and depression these days, or has it always been there, but we were never aware of it in the past?
No, I think it's definitely 10 times worse now. If you go and do your maths and you go look at when the internet was around, the internet started, I don't know what, 90s, something like that.
back in our day.
Yeah, so the internet. That's right.
Remember that?
That's right, yeah. But it started in the 90s and then the smartphone came out. And if you do the maths and you follow the path of the internet and the smartphone and you look at that age group now that's really struggling, that's the bracket.
Yeah. Right.
They're the ones that grew up with it. And you look at kids now, more anxious than ever, right? Kids being 5, 6, 7 years old, diagnosed with anxiety. I don't know, but it never happened when I was a kid. I never heard of it.
I-
Yeah, right.
That's what I'm saying, because now we're seeing kids that have anxiety. Where do you hear a kid having anxiety?
That's right. Because the connection is always there. And this is what it comes down to before when I said mind fatigue, yeah? Now we are putting noise, color, shapes, communication, relationships in phones and tablets, and we're putting it in front of 5-year-old kids who can't fathom and understand what the hell they're even looking
It's
at.
like sensory overload.
It is sensory overload.
So you're drugging them from an early age, really.
It's sensory overload. The mind processes up to about 7 thoughts, I think, a second, something like that. I might be wrong, but that's what I'm reading, yeah? And we do thousands of thoughts a day. And when you're giving kids tablets and phones and you're saying, here, go use it, and I
As a
get it. I've got a
substitute.
son. I get it. Sometimes it's easier, yeah? But I try my best not to let it happen.
Good on you.
It's that overload. It's that stimulation. And they're only 5. And then they get to 10. Then they get to 15. And then there's this backlog that I'm talking about from before, you know? Have they been processing all this? Have these 5-year-olds seeing what they're seeing on the internet been processing what they're seeing? What's their connection to those images and to these videos that they're watching? A process still needs to take place. Doesn't matter even if you're watching the Wiggles. There's a process that needs to take place in your mind to process what you're watching. Then they become 10, 15, 20 years old and they're gone. Their brain is fried, yeah, because we don't teach this process stuff. You don't go to school when they sit there and they teach you how to process thoughts and how to, tick through all the negative and stuff that's happened in your life. That doesn't occur.
So
You know?
are you saying that we should have a period of our time in our life to go back to the basics? You think that there should be a portion for, because we've got to live with the technology,
Yeah.
but should there be a portion of like,
Or balance it with
Yeah.
going to the park and throwing the ball
yeah,
around.
It's
is
hard.
Is that important?
100%. It's hard because I think if you take a kid away from electronics now, you're probably setting them up to fail in the world that they're going to move into.
But I'm not saying get rid of it.
no,
I'm
no,
saying
I know that.
manage your time with
Yeah, you got to manage. That's right.
Yeah.
But my point was like, I don't think we can just get rid of it.
No, sure.
That's not an answer
Sure.
because these days, I
Sure.
mean, now with COVID, you got
Because we
Zoom
function
and all this stuff.
we function
now.
within it.
Yeah, that's
Gotcha.
right. It's
I
part
get
of
it.
our life.
Gotcha.
But there has to be a balance, 100%. There has to be a time where your child, or even as an adult, okay, I'm not a professional parent, but even as an adult, there has to be a time of disconnect. There has to be a time where it's
Good
just
point.
you and your mind and being able to process or just not even think at all. Yeah? You can wake up in the morning, like my wife, God love you, I love you, honey. Sometimes, and I get why she does it, because it's sometimes just easier. But my son goes from the cot to the television
Got it.
in the morning,
Gotcha.
right?
She's got a routine. She's got to get stuff
It's
done.
routine. She's busy. She's got to
Yeah,
get stuff
I
done. She's
get
got
it.
to get ready for work. She's got to get ready for childcare. I
Gotcha.
get it. But it killed me.
Yeah.
It killed me seeing it.
Yeah.
And I spoke to her and, and credit to her, she does it now. And I said, 1 hour after he wakes up, no television.
Yeah, right.
I don't care. Just him and the
Play
toys.
with your toys, yeah.
Him and the
think that's-
floor.
yeah, I think
I don't care. Him and me just walking around cruising. 1 hour after he wakes up, he's not being stimulated. Just let him be and let him just digest what just happened in those 8 hours when he slept. You know what I mean? And just whatever. Like you need that disconnect. You have
So,
to.
Andrew, here we go. So you got a teen, right? You're telling me right now, and this is what we've been studying. You got a teen, you notice some behavioural issues. They might be suffering with depression, anxiety, whatever the case may be. As a parent, should I be pulling them aside and just having general conversations with them, going to the cafe, talking to them, hearing what they've got to say? Would that help resolve that issue to some degree?
I would say 150,000% you
There
should
you
be.
go.
Now,
I'm going to follow up on that as
it's
well.
not always that easy, yeah?
Gotcha.
It's not
we
always
get
that easy.
it, but it's
Because
a start.
sometimes, look, depending on your relationship with your child, for some kids, the mum and dad is everything.
Right.
They're hanging off their hip.
Some of them are no-go zone.
For some of them, you may have lost them for whatever reason.
Yeah.
School, peer pressure,
Yeah.
peers that they've got. There's a lot that happens outside of the family, man, that that you have no control of.
Yeah.
Once your child says, bye, Dad, and walks out that door, you don't know anything about that kid until he walks back through that door.
Gotcha.
And so if you had that relationship, yeah, I would definitely say, because I have heard kids and I have seen firsthand children yearning for their parents. Yeah. And so I would say if you feel that it was comfortable and the relationship was there, yeah. But, you're only coming from a place of love for your child,
Of course.
Can I? Yeah, and I agree. Can I talk about the approach, say for families? Don't go to your child and say, "I see that you're not doing so well. Are you okay?" For example, let's go to a cafe so we can talk. Don't do that.
No.
But the approach should not be like that. It should happen organically. Let's just
Yeah.
naturally.
I think
Give an
Be-
example, Bob.
I think
Give an
we're just suggesting make it social, make it casual,
No,
make
no.
it relaxed.
No, yeah, but
not
I'm-
necessarily going to a cafe.
But I'm saying just the steps, the process
Yeah.
for because people are just like, let's talk. You're not doing too well. Let's go to a cafe so we can talk.
So how would you do it?
So we can bond. What? Just by you saying that, it just erases everything that's just might happen organically. Just make it happen organically. If you want your child to get off the phones, for example, you go first. You get off the phone
Yeah,
first.
100%
For example,
right, bro.
if you want them to be active, you be active and activate them. Do you understand what I'm saying
Yeah,
to you? If you want to go to the coffee shop to have it for a chat or whatever it is, go to the coffee shop and let them see you regularly go to the coffee shop. Hey, come with me today. Don't. In the back of your mind, you're going to talk to them about things aren't going wrong there, but let it happen organically.
point.
Because as soon as you mention the fact that let's talk so we can bond.
Yeah.
When you talk, you're not going to bond because they know, I know why you're saying this because you're trying to get this. So
Good
just let
call.
it happen organically is what I'm
Okay.
saying to you.
Yeah,
So-
look, I agree. It does have to be somewhat organic. It does, but at the same time too,
I'm
that
just talking
person's-
about the approach is what I'm saying.
yeah, but
Yeah.
that person's never going to come forward most occasions.
Yeah.
So sometimes it does mean you have to
Wean it out naturally.
make that step.
Yeah,
Be
yeah,
in
yeah.
tune
Yeah.
with it.
Be in tune with it, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So it's not like it's just going to be all flowy and lovey and yeah. But you do sometimes have to, I suppose, go and sit on their bed
Sure,
and say, hey,
sure. Mix it up, mix it
yeah,
up.
well, you might have to because
Yeah.
the thing is the symptoms, and this is one of the things that makes me a bit, skeptical about all this stuff that we do for mental health. Everyone talks about ring this number if you have issues, go see this person if you have issues, go visit this company if you have issues. But all that advice goes completely against the symptoms these people have. And their symptoms tell them, don't talk to anyone, don't go anywhere.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So you're banging your head against the wall, right? Like look, for some people it will work, yeah? For some people it will work 100%. But it's getting worse and worse, Bob. And I don't know what these companies are doing. I'm going to be honest. I don't know what's happening out there that is getting worse and worse. When's the last time you walked to Bankstown or you walked somewhere and you saw a mental health company in your face? Never, right? If it's not a proactive approach to healing, in most cases it's not going to happen, man.
Yeah, right.
Because the symptoms won't allow it.
Gotcha.
The symptoms of what anxiety is won't allow it. And there's one thing I have to say. When we talk about cure, it's very important that we talk about that because we need to change our language and we need to change our mindset. A lot of good friends I know will tell me there's no cure for anxiety. But let me tell you this. There are two types of anxiety, yeah? There's your normal, everyday, human, anxious approach to certain situations, yeah? Car accident or whatever, you might see something and that creates a bit of anxiousness. That's a normal human trait, yeah? We're not trying to eliminate that. Then you've got anxiety, which is a chronic anxiety, an irrational anxiety, where your mind is 24/7. Whether something happens to you or not, your mind's gone.
Yeah, I see a cloud coming. Am I going to hit by a
Nighttime
thunderstorm?
comes, you freak out. Something happens, you think the worst. World war is going to happen.
Got
All
it.
this stuff. Your brain's gone, right?
Yeah.
So the problem is, people think there's no cure because what happens is, this person's up here, and then there's anxiety. So you have normal anxiety,
Yep.
and then you have this, chronic anxiety, if you want to call it that.
Got it.
And people go, there's no cure. And what happens is this person works hard and works hard and works hard and they get to this level, which is normal, yeah? But then they have an anxiety attack or they get anxious and all of a sudden that triggers and then go back up again. And people say, there's no cure because they come down to a normal level and then they have a normal attack. A normal attack, meaning a normal attack that anyone would have or a normal anxious reaction to anything that a normal human will have. But then they see it as a relapse. Oh, it's happening again. And it gets worse again and it escalates. My point is, when we talk about cure, we talk about cure of going from there to normal. We're not talking about cure going from there to no more anxiety. It's important.
Yeah,
It's important that people understand when we talk about curing anxiety, we're not asking that no one ever has an anxiety attack anymore. All we're asking is that those irrational, constant daily attacks that people are having, that we can manage them to bring them back to a normal, anxious level of living. Not eliminate it completely. Because that asking them to do that is not possible. And then when they think every time they reach this normal level that they've relapsed and they've gone backwards because now they're having a bit of anxiety and I should be completely cured of it, that's not realistic.
Right.
So just when we talk about cure, it's very important to understand we're not talking about getting rid of it, that you never have it.
Dealing with it.
We're just talking about bringing it down to what a normal perceived sort of response is to an anxious situation.
That's a good insight.
You know what I
Good
mean?
insight.
It's important we realise that.
Andrew, I want to ask you a bit about your experience, right? Let's go to the other side of the other side of the spectrum, right? I don't want to sound desensitized about the situation, so please don't get me wrong. But so much talk, we're hearing more and more talk about mental awareness. Is there a group of people that play on that and use that as an excuse?
100%. I did. I used my mental health for 1,000 things.
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well,
Use
for
it as a
example,
tool
are
to...
people using as a tool to get attention?
Sure.
Or because
Let me tell you, yeah. Sorry to stop you.
yeah, go for it.
Sorry to stop you, man. I
I
didn't
wanna
mean to
hear
be
you.
rude.
No.
It's a valid
You
question.
become that.
Victim?
You become
Victim.
your mental health.
Yeah, right.
It becomes you. Let me tell you, one of the biggest anxiety attacks I ever had was just as I was healing and getting better. It was like this massive volcanic eruption. It was one of the biggest ever. And it was literally me just as I was into my 3rd year of psychology. And that attack came because I was basically, who's this new me going to be?
Right.
I was changing into a completely different person.
Did that scare you?
It scared me
Yeah.
because I didn't know who I was going to become. Because for so long, my anxiety and depression became who I was and formed my personality and formed my daily interactions.
Gotcha.
And then when I started to get better, because, you know, when you try and heal from anxiety, it's really hard because you sit there and you go, today's the day I'm going to beat it. And then you think so hard about beating it that it happens. You wake up the next morning, today's the day I'm going to beat it. And it's this repetitive cycle and you don't.
It's mentally draining.
It is, of course it is. And so when you start to heal and you put things in place and you start to really grasp what's going on with you, I started to heal and I started to get better. And one day became 2 days. 2 days became 3. And all of a sudden like 5, 6. And I think it was like about 3, 4 weeks in. And I didn't have an attack. And then boom. I had the biggest one I ever had in my life.
Right.
I had to lie flat on the ground. I couldn't even stand. And that was that realization that had I beaten it, like I was asking, like it was like, I think I'm cured. Yeah, I think I'm better. And then there's thoughts in my head about, well, then what am I going to become? And not only who am I going to become, also, I had no more excuses for failing.
Right.
You know what I mean? I could always blame my anxiety and depression. And it didn't matter what happened, I always played that card. And every time I played that card, it got me out of trouble.
Gotcha.
But then, if I didn't have that, then what card could I play?
Right.
I had no cards left. Because it was, you know what I mean? So all this stuff was going through my head. So I had this big attack. But then after the attack, it was like, hey.
Relief again.
I haven't had one since.
Hey, Andrew.
Yeah.
Just, I don't want to digress too much, but did your faith play any part in your
Saved my
healing?
life, bro.
Okay.
Yeah,
In
saved
what
my life.
way?
Let me tell you. So, if I tell you these stories about my faith, man, I'm so blessed. And firstly, faith is big in healing. Now, whether you're religious or not, you believe in God or not, my suggestion will be find something to believe in. Find something to turn your attention to. Find something to lean on and talk to, because you're not always going to want to talk to a person. And for me, I was going to church more times when it was closed than when it was open.
Sure.
And I would sit in the aisle of the church and I'd cry my head off for hours. But it let me reflect and it let me speak and it let me talk when I didn't want to always talk to someone. And especially early on when I was talking to no one.
You knew there was someone in control that was bigger than you.
100%.
Yeah, right.
Because, you know,
And there is.
why didn't I do things that my brain was telling me to do? Yeah. Why didn't I want to commit, when we're talking about suicide, what was stopping me? And there was this thing in my head that was saying, listen, hey, yes, you're struggling, but that's not you at the moment. And it really turned me to God. And it turned me so far towards God, I became OCD. And I was doing the sign of the cross about 100 times a day.
Right. That was your experience.
Yeah, because, and I'm talking about 100 times a day, like without fail, man.
Yeah.
And I couldn't walk past a crucifix. I couldn't walk past the church. I couldn't go anywhere past a religious artifact, if you want to call it that, or a picture or a statue, without doing the sign of the cross. And if I tried to, I was back there 5 seconds later doing it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it became OCD. My connection to my faith became my, I suppose, my safety net.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I felt every time I did the sign of the cross that it was protecting me and bringing me back and protecting me from any danger. But I'll tell you other stories. I'll tell you one story real quick. This is a story that's going to absolutely break your brain. Not long ago, I lost feeling in my left arm. I had no strength in my left arm. I had a really bad back pain, and my left hand lost all strength. I couldn't even open a drink bottle. And I remember I was doing courier work at the time, and I'm carrying
You did a few things, Andrew.
I know, man. I was carrying heavy. I just try and make ends meet, bro.
Yeah,
you know?
I get it.
I was carrying heavy stuff, and I had nothing left in my left arm. One day I did a delivery to this old lady in Maroubra, and she said to me, it was her birthday, and her family had bought all this Bunnings stuff. I was doing Bunnings deliveries. they had bought all this stuff to give it to her for her garden. And I brought it into her house for her. And we got talking, and she said to me, sorry, I couldn't help you, love. My left arm was sore, right? And I said, no, that's okay. My left arm's sore too. And we got talking. So she goes, oh, I'll walk you back to your van. And she walked me, and we're talking about religion. She started talking about faith and about how she's part of a church group in her area. And I got into the driver's seat, and I'm talking chronic back pain, my left arm gone for months, right? Like, I saw a specialist. I went and got x-rays, everything that, like, I went and did what I could because I was freaking out that I was losing feeling. I was just about to drive off. She knocked on my window. She goes, sorry, can I ask your name? I said, it's Andre. And that's a whole different story. Andrew, Andre, but anyway. And she goes, sorry, love, Andre, can I say a prayer for you? And I said, yeah, please. And she goes, God, please look over him. Please look over his arm and his back. I offer my healing up to him. Please protect him. Please put him in front of people he needs to be in front of. And she prayed for me. And at the end of it, I did the sign of the cross. She did the sign of the cross. I said, thank you so much. You're a lovely lady. God bless you. She said, God bless you, Andre. Enjoy your day. And I went. That night, okay, I got home. I walked into my bedroom. I'm not kidding you. And this is where people look at me funny. I saw this black shadow about this big, like football size, shadowish, grey, black, fly into my Bible. My Bible sits on our bed head above us when we sleep. Fly into it. And I sort of looked, and it didn't freak me out because I've had a lot of connection with God. There's been a lot of times where I've had experiences that way. So it was just another connection. And I took it on board, and it happened so, like, not, I wouldn't say violently, but it happened so quick and hard. I expected to see the pages flip. That's how much it was. But it just sat there, nothing happened. I woke up the next morning, I went to work, courier work again at Bunnings. And I remember getting up, I felt okay, went and worked. And it wasn't until I started picking up boxes, I was like, my arm's good, right? And then I started paying more attention to my body. My left arm had become stronger than my right.
Right, yeah.
My back pain had gone.
Right.
And I'm telling you, to this day, my left arm is still strong like an ox, and my back pain hasn't come back.
Wow.
And up until that day, I was seeing specialists, I was seeing everyone. This lady didn't have to talk about her left arm.
Yeah, right.
What's the odds? Me showing up, some old lady, she's saying my left arm hurts, my left arm hurt. You know what I mean? The way she triggered that conversation.
Yeah, it's important because what God says, lean on to your own understanding, but lean on His understanding. What's your experience, Peter, with have you had any experiences like that, or with?
Let me share a quick experience.
Yeah.
From a Christian perspective, I was probably around 16 years of age, and I was brought up in the faith. I'd do my daily prayers and all of that. There came a period when I was about 16 years of age that a sudden feeling of displacement came upon me. It was a feeling of emptiness. It was a feeling that, if I was to die tonight, did it really serve a purpose? But hold on, I know there's a God. God, what's going on? I've been praying to you. Why do I feel like this? Why do I feel like I'm just so empty? And it kept going for a period of 6 months to a point where it just hurt. I can't explain it. It was a feeling of just displacement.
Wouldn't leave you alone?
It just wouldn't leave me alone. I was emptied. Nothing kind of made sense. I've been praying to God, and I just started kind of doubting a bit. Reality started to kick in. All of a sudden, I get a knock on my door, and it was a kid from school. A kid that I really didn't associate much. And he came to my...
How did he come to your house?
Well, this is the...
I'll get a knock on the door, kid from my school.
Did he have chocolates?
Let me do one of these ones.
Yeah, right.
No, 100%.
How?
Yeah,
I said to him, do you know where I live? He tracked me down. Now, this was, I think we left school at this stage, but I was never mates with him.
Yeah, right.
And he said to me, Pete, I've just come to pay you a visit. And he goes, I'm just letting you know I'm a Christian. I go, well, that's great. We're all Christians. You know what I mean? And he started to mention to me how, he goes, Pete, I remember at school you kind of knew a lot about the Bible. I said, well, I've been reading since the age of 10, cover to cover. So I knew the scriptures, but obviously I was disconnected. cutting a long story short, he was telling me about his journey to Christianity because he wasn't a Christian, right? But he said something that was quite interesting, Andrew. He said to me, Pete, do you mind if I pray with you? Bit weird, not used to that. I said, go ahead. Now, we were sitting on my fence, but we found ourselves praying in the middle of the road. And as soon as he started to pray, at that time, I started to let go and give myself over to the Lord. And I started, in essence, without saying words, Lord, come into my heart. A very interesting experience. Something came upon me, and he even felt, he goes, bro, do you feel that? He goes, do you know what that is? And I said, yeah, when two or more come in my name, I will be upon them, right? I knew it was the Holy Spirit that came in, and it flushed all these feelings aside. Now, can I explain how I felt? It was the greatest feeling I had ever felt, and it pushed everything aside. Now, cutting a long story short, decades after that, I never had those problems again. That cured me.
Yeah, I believe
All
that.
right. So here's what happened. I was speaking to a man of God, and I said, don't think I'm weird. I'm not one of those weird guys that, believe in weird Christian things. I'm not. I'm very conservative, as a matter of fact. I said, but this is the experience that I had. And he looked at me and smiled, and he took me to 1 Peter 1:8. Now listen to these words. And this was exactly the feeling that I experienced. Whom having not seen, ye love. We're talking about God, right? In whom thou now ye see him not, ye believe in him. I was believing in him all over again that very moment. Ye rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory. Unspeakable joy is what I experienced that night. Now, you want to know what that kid said to me? He goes, Pete, I might not ever see you ever again, but the next time I see you, I'll see you in heaven. I departed. God sent him to me to pull me out of that, and he gave me such a spiritual healing.
Yeah.
I encourage everybody to call out to God and Jesus Christ, and it will just deliver them from any pit if you just submit.
Yeah.
Look,
I agree.
That story is perfect in terms of, for someone who had anxiety.
Yeah.
That's his experience,
Yeah.
That's my experience.
But those stories is what you look for and what gets you through these times.
Yeah, man.
That's what got me through it.
Yeah.
Having these experiences and similar to experiences like yours, those stories that happen to you, and it happens to people, I think, depends if you open yourself up to that, yeah? Sometimes it happens to people, they don't even see it because they're not open to it. But when you were very low, like myself, I threw myself straight into God. I gave him everything of mine.
That's when he wants you, mate.
Literally.
That's when he wants you.
Everything. I remember once having an anxiety attack, lying in my bed, and my heart rate's through the roof. My wife's next to me, and I don't want to wake her up because I feel bad. I'm always waking her up. She hasn't had proper sleep in years, my poor wife. And I remember lying there, and I'm freaking out. And then you wouldn't believe, right? I start praying, yeah? It's one of my tools. I say the rosary is one of my tools to get my head off.
Yeah.
As I start praying, the biggest smile on my face develops. And it wasn't me, all right? This smile was so large on my face that it actually scared me, yeah? I was actually going from oh my God, what's this smile? And I took it as a sign from God. But there were moments where I was like, am I having a stroke? Like it was, because it wasn't me doing it.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
But then this smile lasted about maybe 20, 30 seconds. And then when the smile went, my whole anxiety went, everything went.
I love it, man.
And I know it's hard for people to understand these stories. It's hard for people to...
It's great to share your experiences, man.
And my wife sometimes says to me, God love her, like, that's just between you and God.
Yeah.
Because that's how she is. She's very... All her dealings with the Lord...
It's her.
Just her. She keeps them to herself. They're her stories.
Gotcha.
For herself.
Gotcha.
I'm opposite.
Yeah, gotcha.
I'm like, if God did this to me, I'm out preaching.
Yeah,
because I'm telling everyone. Because I don't see it. I see it as me sharing the word, basically.
Yeah.
Amen.
You know, that's my approach.
Yeah, gotcha.
You know, I've got so many stories. I'll tell you one really quick. I remember once I was at my auntie's. This is real. We're there. We're flicking through her a book, and they have Saint Charbel's.
Yeah.
And Saint Charbel's eyes are closed. Yeah. Usually closed. They have the modesty and that they have his eyes closed. And I remember saying to my aunties, "Why is his eyes always closed?" You know, and they told me why. I went home and I had a dream, and that night I was dreaming, and I was flicking through a book and I was turning the pages, and it was just all random faces. And one page I turned was Saint Charbel's face. His eyes were wide open, right? And I remember waking up that morning, and I felt bulletproof. I felt 10 foot tall. I felt like Saint Charbel's invited me into his life because he opened his eyes for me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I asked for it with my aunties. I questioned it, and then in my dream, he opened his eyes. And people say, "Oh, it's just dreams. You're talking about it."
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
But it didn't have to occur.
Yeah, right.
There's 1,000 things in life you talk about you don't dream about. It didn't have to occur.
Man,
But
obviously.
it's these stories, Bob. Sorry, it's these stories that kept me strong through all that tough time.
Yeah, and
You know what I mean?
And thank God for that.
Yeah,
man.
thank God,
Yeah.
100%.
Let's head. I appreciate that, Andrew. I appreciate that, Peter. You know, your
Yeah,
story.
man,
Let's
that's a good story, bro.
Yeah,
Thank you.
let's
that's
just
a
let's
good
just
story.
head down and see if I can tie this thing up and wrap it up. What keeps you motivated, Andrew, just to keep going and become your ambassador role, and what you've got out of it, and thank God for that. Why do you care so much? What motivates you to want to share to help others?
Yeah, look, let me tell you, it's been a long time since I've had an attack.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've been
good for you,
depressed. All right, and for me, it's a series of a few things. One, why me?
Yep.
Yeah. Why didn't I become a statistic? That motivates me to talk.
Yep, gotcha.
Also, there's this whole thing about me being cured and me feeling now being in such a good space after such a hard struggle. So why not others?
You feel like you want to help others?
Why not others?
Good
Yeah.
on you, yeah.
And also, I really feel compelled through my faith and through what I believe the message from God has been to me, through helping me through all these stages
Gotcha.
and protecting me.
You don't want to hold on to it.
I feel like he's saying to me now, go out and help who you can help. You know, I feel that's the message from him. Cool. So on the back of those few points, that's what got me up. And then what happened was basically why I went to Are You OK was it was lonely doing it by myself.
Sure.
And I wanted to be a part of something. I wanted to be a part of a family. I wanted to also have some support during that journey. And, you know, and I also wanted to have a better reach. Yeah.
Sure.
So it was like the whole thing about, well, why help one if you can help 1,000?
So you don't want to do it alone, and you wanted to get a bigger reach.
So I researched who I thought was the best fit for me, and it kept coming back to Are You OK? And I, based on their simplistic message,
Sure.
it's just the conversation that they care about, yeah?
Gotcha.
I went to them, and they took me on board, and I went and got inducted, and they trained you up. And, you know, even yesterday I was on a Zoom meet for an hour and a half, part of my training, and they put me on a suicide awareness training.
Yep.
And they've done all this stuff to upskill me, and it's a great organisation, man.
Well,
And
man,
that's why I went there.
And that's great, and I'm glad you came through. I'm glad that you care enough to want to help others. Andrew, what would you tell the young Andrew earlier on, his early 20s, if you had, what would you tell him, you know?
Two things.
Yeah.
Stick to one sport. Then that's something different. That's a whole different ballgame.
That's okay,
right?
man. I'm just asking you.
There's no off season. Stick to one sport. Stop changing sports if you want to succeed.
Yeah.
But I probably would have just said, and I know this might sound a bit of a cliche,
Yeah.
if I reached out earlier, I wouldn't have lost my life, as much of my life, you know what I mean? I wouldn't have, I suppose, struggled for so long. After reaching out and going out there and you've got to be proactive with your healing, yeah? It's not just reach out. I reached out, I spoke to people, I researched what was anxiety, what was depression. I immersed myself into it.
So what would you tell him?
I changed my language, I changed my attitude, I changed everything about how I look at mental health. And I almost, at some points, and I think I mentioned to you before, at some points at my lowest, I was looking back at myself like a third person, having pity on myself.
Gotcha.
You know, it became that experience.
Gotcha.
And I immersed myself. And then basically what happened was, how I sort of look at it is over time and over taking it head on. And it's not easy because some people are so tired and so drained, they don't have that energy. And it took a while. This is not something that happened overnight for me. This was a few years of healing and getting help. It took a while, you know, like 20 years or whatever it is of illness. Doesn't just
Gotcha.
disappear overnight, you
Yeah,
know.
man. Manage it.
So
What would you tell him? What's the second thing that you tell him?
just get help earlier.
Get help earlier.
Don't be scared. It's
Gotcha.
okay. Get help earlier. Open up earlier.
And this might help with my last and final question for you, Andrew. What message would you give anyone that's struggling out there with mental health? What would you tell them?
Yeah, look, once I remember sitting at home and I started crying. And I was on the kitchen table and my wife's going, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I was crying. And I remember I looked at her and I said, there's a lot of sad people. There's a lot of people out there who are doing it tough. And I just cried. And you got to be careful. Your burden's not other people's burdens. Other people's burdens aren't always yours.
Sure.
Yeah? Be there, help them through it. But be careful not to take it on board. Because, you know, it's overwhelming. You've got to be careful how much you take from people, you know. Sometimes someone's cross is not always your cross. You have to, I know it sounds bad, but you have to respect that sometimes. Be there for them. Because as humans, you can't take on too much.
Gotcha.
You know, you got to be careful what you're doing to yourself. And there's also very quickly, one thing I wanted to mention, we've got to be careful when we talk about mental illness. There's being a victim of situations of mental illness, and there's, I suppose, playing a victim.
Got it.
Okay?
Got it.
You have to be careful not to play the victim. There's all this stuff now going on about, you know, being forgiving. Yeah?
Sure.
The whole idea of forgiving and stuff like that is because you want to, for yourself,
Absolutely.
have permission to move forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you can fall into the trap in mental illness and having anxiety
Yeah.
of playing that
Victim. Sure.
And what that means is you allow the anxiety to be you, and you go about your life, and the anxiety dictates where your life goes. And it's important not to play the victim. Be a victim, yes. If you're struggling, yes, get help. No one's saying it doesn't exist. It exists. But try your best not to go from being one to playing one, because then the healing, the pain lasts longer.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
So
man.
my thing to people would be,
Break it down.
yeah, just, it's okay. Breathe. Don't be scared. When you're ready, open up.
Yep.
There's help out there. I beg you, don't just let this thing be who you are. I read a lot of comments on Facebook and social media that makes me want to cry and makes me want to scream. All this stuff that I read about basically giving permission to anxiety sufferers to have it. I don't agree with that,
Yeah,
because the language is wrong.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? The language is wrong. Get yourself around positive people. Research it. Find out what it is that you have so you're not freaking out.
Gotcha.
You know, go get help from the doctors. If you've got chest pain, go to a cardiologist. I went to a cardiologist. I told him my whole story. He goes, "Why are you here? You're a fit young man." I've got anxiety, depression. My dad had some heart attacks when he was young. My chest hurts. I just want to check myself out. It was a $600 bill. I told him my story. I went to the receptionist at the end. She goes, "He's not charging you today."
Oh, wow.
I appreciate it, man. Well,
People
that's
will
great.
help you.
Yep.
Yeah?
Just reach out.
Reach out.
Find someone that's safe.
No one is going to laugh at you. No one's going to look at you weird.
Gotcha.
And if the first person's not ready and not available, go to the second and go to the third.
Cool.
Be positive with it. Understand it doesn't have to be the downfall of yourself, that you can be cured, you can get help, you can live with it. And, you know, I know it sounds easy just to say that, but I went from the
You went
lowest
through
of
it.
lows.
You went through it.
I went through it, and the last several years has taught me that you can get through it. Just make that first step. It's always the hardest, yeah? Because like I said, the symptoms don't let you make those steps,
Yep.
okay? The symptoms keep you stuck in the house.
Gotcha.
But somehow, some way, you have to find that inner strength
I get it.
to open that door,
Beautiful.
yeah? And take that first plunge and just trust in people, trust in God, trust in the experts that are out there, and just let them do their thing to help you.
It's good
Yeah?
advice,
Don't
Andrew.
be scared.
That's good advice,
Yeah,
man.
it's
Thank
good
you so
advice.
much, man. We really appreciate it. Some good advice for people out there. Thanks for sharing your experience. Bro, thanks for being brave enough and man enough to share your experience. I love you, brother. And I'm
Nah,
glad
thank you so much,
and
bro.
I'm glad that you've pulled through and made it through. It's important, you know. I love to see Andrew, you know, back to who Andrew is, you know, and I know he's there. Thanks.
Yeah.
I I want to say thank you to your wife, man. I think, for putting
100%, bro.
for putting for pulling you through and staying with you, to your family and friends, to whoever's helped. Just a big thank you for keeping this man to who he is today. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you, Andrew, for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, everyone.
Always.
It's great to be here.
We're out. Thank you.